Space, the final frontier, humanity's greatest achievement. We look up at the stars and dream of exploration, of discovery, of reaching beyond our world. We see astronauts as heroes, brave pioneers venturing into the unknown. We watch rocket launches with wonder. We celebrate moon landings. We imagine a future among the stars. But we forget something. Space doesn't care about your dreams. Space doesn't care about your courage. Space is a vacuum, a void, an environment so hostile, so unforgiving, that the smallest mistake means death. And not a quick death, not a peaceful death, a slow, terrifying, agonizing death. Suffocation, freezing, burning, explosive decompression, your blood boiling in your veins, your lungs collapsing, your body torn apart by forces you can't fight. Today, we're leaving Earth. We're going where no safety net exists, where rescue is impossible, where if something goes wrong, you die alone, millions of miles from home, knowing nobody can save you. These are the astronauts who paid the ultimate price, the men and women who burned alive, who suffocated in space, who knew they were going to die and had minutes, hours, or days to think about it. This is the dark side of space exploration, and every single story is real. Vladimir Komarov knew he was going to die. April 23, 1967, Soviet Union, the height of the space race. America and Russia competing to dominate space, to prove superiority, to win at any cost. Soyuz 1 was scheduled to launch, a new spacecraft, untested, rushed. Soviet engineers had identified over 200 structural problems with the vehicle. 200. Any one of them could be fatal. They filed reports. They warned their superiors. They begged for delays, more testing, more time. The response was simple: launch anyway. The mission was politically important. Propaganda. The Soviet Union needed a victory, needed to show the world their technological superiority. The lives of cosmonauts were secondary. Vladimir Komarov was selected as pilot. He was experienced, a veteran. He had flown before. He knew the risks, and he knew about the problems. He knew Soyuz 1 was a death trap, but he couldn't refuse. If he refused, his backup would fly instead. His backup was Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space, a national hero, a friend. Komarov couldn't let Gagarin die, so he accepted the mission. He said goodbye to his wife. He told her he wasn't coming back. She begged him not to go. He had no choice. April 23, 1967, launch day. Komarov climbed into Soyuz 1. The hatch closed. The countdown began. The rocket ignited. Soyuz 1 lifted off. Within minutes, problems began. One solar panel failed to deploy. Power systems malfunctioned. The spacecraft began tumbling. Komarov couldn't stabilize it. He couldn't control it. He radioed ground control, reported the failures, asked for instructions. Ground control had no solutions. The spacecraft was failing. The mission was doomed. They ordered him to abort, to return to Earth immediately. Komarov began re-entry procedures. He fired the retro rockets. The spacecraft began descending, but the parachute system failed. The main parachute didn't deploy properly. It tangled. The backup parachute deployed, but became entangled with the main chute. Neither parachute could slow the descent. Komarov was falling, accelerating, plummeting toward Earth at hundreds of miles per hour. He knew what was coming. He radioed ground control. His final words were curses, rage. He cursed the engineers who built a faulty spacecraft. He cursed the officials who ordered the launch. He cursed the system that valued propaganda over human life. And then he screamed. Ground control listened, helpless. They heard him screaming as Soyuz 1 fell. Faster, faster, until impact. Soyuz 1 hit the ground at over 400 miles per hour. The spacecraft disintegrated. The impact was so violent it created a crater. The fuel tanks exploded. Fire consumed everything. When recovery teams arrived, there was almost nothing left. Komarov's body was burned beyond recognition. Charred remains. They found fragments, pieces. They held a state funeral with a closed casket, because there was nothing to show. Vladimir Komarov died because politicians valued propaganda over safety, because engineers were ignored, because the space race demanded sacrifices. He died knowing it was preventable, knowing he was being murdered by negligence. And his death changed nothing. The Soviet space program continued. More rushed missions, more risks, more deaths. The Apollo 1 crew burned alive. January 27, 1967, just 3 months before Komarov's death. Cape Kennedy, Florida. NASA was preparing for the Apollo program, the mission to land humans on the moon. Apollo 1 was a test, a rehearsal. The crew would sit in the command module, run through launch procedures, test systems. No actual launch, just a simulation, safe, routine. The crew was experienced. Gus Grissom, one of the original Mercury 7 astronauts, a veteran, Ed White, the first American to walk in space, a hero, Roger Chaffee, younger, less experienced, but capable, eager. They entered the Apollo 1 command module. The hatch closed, sealed. The cabin was pressurized with pure oxygen. Standard procedure. Pure oxygen made breathing easier at low pressure, but it also made everything extremely flammable. The crew began the countdown simulation. Hours of checks, procedures, communications tests. Everything was routine. Until 6:31 p.m., a spark. Nobody knows exactly what caused it. A frayed wire, a short circuit, something small, insignificant. Under normal conditions, it would have been nothing. But in a pure oxygen environment, that spark became an inferno. Fire erupted inside the command module, instantly, violently. In pure oxygen, materials that normally don't burn become explosive. Nylon, Velcro, plastic, paper. Everything inside the capsule ignited. The temperature inside the cabin reached over 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit in seconds. The crew had seconds to react. Grissom shouted, "Fire in the cockpit!" Ed White tried to open the hatch, but the hatch was designed to open inward. The fire had increased cabin pressure. The pressure pushed the hatch closed. White couldn't open it. He pulled, strained. The hatch wouldn't move. The fire spread. Smoke filled the cabin. Toxic fumes. The crew was suffocating, burning, screaming. Ground control heard everything. The screams, the panic, the final moments. They tried to help. Technicians rushed to the launch pad, but the heat was too intense. They couldn't get close. They couldn't open the hatch from outside. The pressure, the heat, the smoke. It took 5 minutes to open the hatch. 5 minutes. When they finally got it open, the crew was dead. All three. Grissom, White, Chaffee. Their bodies were burned, fused to the melted interior of the capsule. The fire had consumed everything. The investigation revealed a shocking negligence. The pure oxygen environment, the inward opening hatch, flammable materials everywhere. Poor wiring, no fire suppression system. NASA had prioritized speed over safety. The race to the moon, the competition with the Soviet Union. It cost 3 lives. The Apollo program was grounded for 21 months. Redesigns, safety improvements, new procedures. Apollo 1 never flew. The mission designation was retired, a memorial. But Grissom, White, and Chaffee were still dead, burned alive in a test that should have been safe. The Challenger crew knew something was wrong. January 28, 1986. Cape Canaveral, Florida, Space Shuttle Challenger, mission STS-51L. The crew included a teacher, Krista McAuliffe, the first civilian in space, a symbol, inspiration for students across America. Millions of school children watched the launch live, in classrooms, on television, excited, proud. The launch had been delayed multiple times. Weather, technical issues, NASA was under pressure, political pressure, media pressure, public pressure. They needed a successful launch. The night before launch, temperatures dropped below freezing. Engineers at Morton Thiokol, the company that built the solid rocket boosters, were alarmed. The O-rings, rubber seals that prevented hot gas from escaping the rocket boosters. They had never been tested in freezing temperatures. Engineers ran the data, the simulations, the projections. Their conclusion was clear. Do not launch. The O-rings could fail. If the O-rings failed, hot gas would escape. If hot gas escaped, it would burn through the external fuel tank. If the fuel tank was breached, the shuttle would explode. The engineers told NASA. They presented the data. They recommended postponing the launch. NASA management disagreed. They had delayed too many times already. The media was criticizing them. They needed to launch. They overruled the engineers. January 28, 1986, 11:38 a.m., Challenger lifted off. The crew was strapped in. Grissom, Scobie, Smith, Resnick, Onizuka, McNair, McAuliffe. 7 people. The shuttle rose, faster, higher. Everything looked normal. The crowd cheered. The school children watched, excited. At 58 seconds into the flight, a small flame appeared on the right solid rocket booster. The O-ring had failed. Exactly as the engineers predicted, hot gas was escaping, burning through the external fuel tank. The crew didn't know. Not yet. At 73 seconds, the external fuel tank ruptured. Liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen mixed. Exploded. The shuttle was torn apart. The explosion was massive, visible for miles. The crowd gasped, confused. Something was wrong. The shuttle had disintegrated, debris falling, smoke trails, chaos. But here's the horrific truth. The crew didn't die in the explosion. The crew cabin remained intact. It separated from the shuttle. It was falling, plummeting toward the ocean. The crew was alive, conscious. They knew what was happening. Evidence recovered later showed that at least 3 crew members activated their emergency oxygen supplies. They were trying to survive. They were aware, falling. For 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the crew cabin fell from 46,000 feet. The crew knew they were going to die. They had almost 3 minutes to think about it, to feel the cabin falling, to know there was no escape. The crew cabin hit the ocean at over 200 miles per hour. The impact killed them instantly. But they had been alive, aware, falling for nearly 3 minutes. Millions watched the explosion live, including Krista McAuliffe's students, her parents, children across America. They watched their teacher die. NASA had ignored the engineers, had prioritized schedule over safety, had launched despite clear warnings. 7 people died. The Space Shuttle program was grounded for 32 months. Investigations, redesigns, new safety protocols. But the Challenger crew was still dead, and they had died knowing it was coming. The Columbia crew was doomed from the start. February 1st, 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia, mission STS-107, a 16-day science mission, research experiments, routine. The crew had been in space for 2 weeks. Everything had gone smoothly. They were preparing to return home, re-entry, landing, but they were already dead. They just didn't know it yet. During launch, 16 days earlier, a piece of foam insulation had broken off the external fuel tank. It was a known issue, foam shedding. It happened on almost every shuttle launch, usually harmless. The foam weighed less than 2 pounds, but it was traveling at 500 miles per hour. When it struck Columbia's left wing, it punched a hole in the reinforced carbon-carbon panels, the heat shield, the panels that protect the shuttle during re-entry. NASA engineers saw the foam strike on video. They analyzed it. They were concerned. They requested satellite imagery, high-resolution photos of the wing, to assess the damage. NASA management denied the request. They didn't think it was serious. Foam strikes were common. The shuttle had survived them before. This would be fine. The engineers disagreed. They ran simulations. The data suggested catastrophic damage. They recommended the crew inspect the wing, perform a spacewalk, check for damage. Management said no. Even if there was damage, there was nothing they could do. No repair capability, no rescue mission. Telling the crew would only cause panic. So they said nothing. The crew had no idea. February 1st, 2003. Columbia began re-entry. The shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere at 17,500 miles per hour. At that speed, friction generates temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat shield protects the shuttle, dissipates the heat. But Columbia's heat shield was breached, the hole in the left wing. Superheated plasma entered the wing. 3,000-degree gas. It melted the aluminum structure. The wing began to disintegrate. Sensors failed. Tire pressure dropped. The crew noticed anomalies, unusual readings. They radioed Mission Control, asked about the data. Mission Control saw the telemetry. They knew what was happening. The shuttle was breaking apart. But they didn't tell the crew. What could they say? At 8:59 a.m., Columbia broke apart over Texas, traveling at 12,500 miles per hour, 200,000 feet above the ground. The crew cabin separated, intact, again, just like Challenger. The crew was alive for a few seconds, maybe longer. The cabin depressurized instantly. At that altitude, the air is too thin to breathe. The crew lost consciousness within seconds. Hypoxia. Then the cabin disintegrated, torn apart by aerodynamic forces. The crew died. All 7. Husband, McCool, Anderson, Brown, Chawla, Clark, Ramon. Debris rained across Texas and Louisiana. Thousands of pieces. Recovery teams found remains, fragments of the shuttle, fragments of the crew. NASA had known there was damage, had known there was risk, had chosen to say nothing, had let the crew die rather than admit the problem. The space shuttle program was grounded again. Investigations, blame, changes. But the Columbia crew was still dead, killed by foam, by negligence, by a system that valued mission success over human life. These are not the only deaths. Soyuz 11, 3 cosmonauts, 1971. A valve opened during re-entry. The cabin depressurized. They suffocated in space, conscious, gasping, for over a minute. They were found dead in their seats, eyes bloodshot, foam in their mouths, the Nedelin catastrophe. 1960, a Soviet rocket exploded on the launch pad. During fueling, over 100 people killed instantly, burned alive, vaporized. The Soviet Union covered it up, denied it happened. For decades, the X-15 crash, 1967, test pilot Michael Adams, hypersonic aircraft, lost control. The plane disintegrated. His body was found in the wreckage. Training accidents, plane crashes, helicopter failures. Astronauts and cosmonauts have died in training, on the ground, before they ever reached space. Space exploration is dangerous, more dangerous than we admit. We celebrate the successes, the moon landings, the space stations, the Mars rovers. But we forget the cost, the lives lost, the bodies burned, the crew members who suffocated, who fell, who knew they were dying and couldn't do anything about it. Every rocket launch is an explosion. Controlled, barely, millions of pounds of fuel. Ignited, channeled, one malfunction, one failure, one mistake, and everyone dies. Every spacewalk is a gamble. One tear in the suit, one leak, one moment of decompression, and you're dead, suffocating, freezing, your blood boiling. Every re-entry is a fall. From space, at 17,000 miles per hour, surrounded by 3,000-degree plasma, one damaged heat shield, one miscalculation, and you burn. We send people into space, knowing some of them won't come back, knowing that mistakes will happen, that equipment will fail, that people will die. And we call them heroes. We build memorials, we name buildings after them, but we keep sending more, because space exploration demands sacrifice, because progress requires risk, because we value discovery more than we value life. The astronauts know this. They accept it. They sign up knowing they might die, knowing that if something goes wrong, rescue is impossible, that they'll die alone, in the void, millions of miles from home, and they go anyway, because they believe it's worth it. But is it? Is reaching Mars worth burning alive? Is a science experiment worth suffocating in space? Is beating another country worth launching a spacecraft you know will fail? The astronauts who died didn't die for science. They died for politics, for propaganda, for schedules and budgets and public relations. They died because engineers were ignored, because managers prioritized deadlines over safety, because the system valued success more than human life. Vladimir Komarov cursed his killers as he fell. The Apollo 1 crew burned while ground control listened. The Challenger crew fell for 3 minutes knowing they were going to die. The Columbia crew was never told they were doomed. These weren't accidents. These were murders, negligent, preventable, inexcusable. And we call it exploration. We call it progress. We call it heroism. But the truth is darker. The truth is that space kills. And we keep sending people anyway. This is the painful truth. And the truth is, the stars are beautiful, but they're built on graves.